Hello there, and welcome back for our terms about the environment. I'm in your student work text on page 19, and I am in the textbook on page 53. So if you have the textbook and you want to follow along there, you can certainly do that. The first term is about the carbon cycle, and we're going to look at this in detail on the next page when we look at the diagram. So I won't pull up a picture on this one. The carbon cycle is talking about the movement of carbon through the environment. And one thing that you need to know about carbon is that every living thing has it. It is an element of life. So it's very important for us to understand how carbon can move and how it behaves in the environment. If it isn't properly managed, it's also an element of death. So we have to know how it affects us as living things and also the dangers of carbon if it's not properly managed. Conservation is the effort to protect and preserve natural resources. We live here in Tennessee, right in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. That is a conservation effort. We are trying to preserve that park the way that it's always been. There's no electricity, there are no billboards, no phones. It is just the way it was years ago when my grandparents lived there. That is a conservation effort. The greenhouse effect. I will show you a picture of this one, but let's get our definition. The greenhouse effect is the trapping of heat. Let me stop right there. If heat gets trapped, what's going to happen to temperature? It's going to increase. So it's the trapping of heat by gases in the atmosphere. So let's use a common sense thing here. If the atmosphere traps heat, what's going to happen to the earth? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to Google greenhouse effect and add the word image, and you can see a diagram of what's going to happen here. And let me see if I can find one that's fairly easy to understand. Some of them can get very complicated. Let's look at this one because it's animated. Sunlight reaches the earth. Some energy is reflected back into space and some is absorbed. Most of the heat is reflected in all directions, warming the earth. So you can see what's happening. I can't stop it. Let's try. Here we go. This is a pretty good description. So you've got the sun sending sunlight onto the earth. It bounces back, but it only reaches that white layer of the atmosphere. And you see that can't get out. Those yellow arrows that are bouncing off of the earth are trapped. And that's what's causing the heat to build. The greenhouse effect causes warming on the earth. You've heard the term global warming. That is because of the greenhouse effect. Okay, natural resources are materials that occur in nature. Sunlight, wind, gold, silver, oil, Those are natural resources. Trees are natural resources because we can build things from them. The nitrogen cycle. Earth has lots of cycles. We talked about the water cycle. We're going to talk about the carbon and nitrogen cycles. But the nitrogen cycle is the movement of nitrogen throughout the environment or through the environment. And again, we are going to look at a diagram of that a couple of pages over, so I'm not going to look up a picture of this one. Non-renewable resources. And this is such a big word, I'm going to go ahead and sound it out for you. It is non-renewable. Non-renewable resources. And these are resources that are being used up. It would help if I could spell today. Resources that are being used up faster than they can be replaced. If we're cutting down trees faster than new trees can grow, that's a problem. If we're using up all the oil in the earth, it takes millions of years for oil to form. So it won't form again in our lifetimes. That is non-renewable. It just can't keep up with production. Okay, for this one, I want you to go ahead and stop the video. Actually, let me give you the definition of the ozone layer, and then I'll have you to stop the video and draw these three little pictures, and we'll talk about those. The ozone layer is the part of the atmosphere. We've already learned that because we saw it on our diagram of the atmosphere. It's the part of the atmosphere made of ozone. And you might be thinking, well, who cares? Ozone is O3. Here's why we care. The ozone layer protects us from radiation from the sun. So it's sort of like nature's sunblock. If that ozone layer is depleted, if it goes away, then we are going to be exposed to some serious radiation from the sun that we may or may not be able to survive. So we need to protect the ozone layer. Okay, I want you to go ahead and stop your video and draw those three diagrams just like I've done there and label them. Okay, so go ahead and stop the video and come back when you're ready. All right, the first one of these is called O1, and that's because it has one atom, and this is an atom. I'll spell it for you. It's not like the man named Adam. It's A-T-O-M. So O1, oxygen 1, has one atom of oxygen. O2 has 2 atoms of oxygen. And there's an atom, and there's an atom, and they're joined together to make O2. This is the form that we breathe. If you are in the hospital and they give you oxygen, it is O2. Every molecule that you breathe has 2 of them, 2 atoms stuck together. Ozone is O3. So in order to create ozone in a chemistry lab, you have to take 3 atoms of oxygen and bond or bind them together. That is O3 because there are 3 atoms. There are 2 atoms in 1 atom. And when we get to the chemistry section, we're going to talk more about this. But I like to show you how these subjects relate to each other whenever I can. So this is oxygen 1, O1, O2, O3. Okay. All right, two more. We have pollution, and I bet you know what that one is. Pollution is, most people say something dirty is polluted, and they're right. Pollution is the contamination of natural resources. So if we pollute our oceans and our streams and our soil, that is contamination, pollution of natural resources. Renewable resources are resources that are replaced quickly, like wind and sunlight, and can be used repeatedly. As long as the sun rises, we'll have sunlight. We can use solar energy. That is a renewable resource. Wind is renewable. Windmills are used to harness that power. So those are renewable resources. They are replaceable fairly easily. Okay, this is the last of this page of terms, and I'm sure you are as tired of writing as I am. The next 2 pages, we're going to look at the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle, and we will come back to those in the next video.